So hopefully you're in the right spot. Appreciate your being here. We are coming to you from the O'Brien Newsroom on the Marquette University campus near Lake Michigan in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. My name is Dave Umhafer. I'm the director of the fellowship and a longtime Wisconsin journalist myself who actually did the O'Brien Fellowship as a fellow in 2015. Today, we're also going to hear from Rachel Ryan, who wears multiple hats for the program and will be assisted by first-year graduate student Xiang Fu. Rachel, a little introduction, is a second-year grad student here at Marquette and a program assistant for the fellowship. For the last 2 years, she has also served as a student reporting intern on 2 O'Brien reporting teams working with fellows. So last year, on a project on doulas and maternal health, and this year on an education equity project. Mm-hmm. Rachel?
Yeah, so the plan for today is just to briefly walk through some of the basics of the fellowship, and then we'll take questions live. And I don't believe we had any previous submissions, but the way that we will have you, I guess, go about the Q&A session is that you should see either on the bottom or the top of the Teams meeting here a icon to raise your hand. It's like a little palm, may just be a palm or it may be a smiley face and a palm. So if you wouldn't mind raising that when you do have a question, that would be great. And again, we will do that at the end. And you can also put questions in the chat. You should see a little chat box feature as well that should be next to the hand as well. So if you have any other very detailed and specific questions about a project you're thinking about, you can also email Dave specifically after our Q&A session if we don't get time for it. So yes.
So first we want to establish a bit about who we are and how we operate. So we have a really idealistic mission, and we're not ashamed of it. We're in the business of turning reporters' dreams into reality as they work to expose injustice and hopefully ignite change in the world. We can do that. We're very fortunate we can do that because Peter and Pat Frechette and their family donated a total of $13 million to create a fellowship here for in-depth reporting and really to help train students. Their gifts honored Marquette alumni Perry and Alicia O'Brien, and we're just extremely lucky to be in this position. So each spring we select 3 to 5 journalists from candidates who propose really rigorous explanatory projects or investigative projects. And I really want to emphasize today that we work with many of those journalists on putting together their proposals. I consult with those who want to do that about their ideas and whether they're a good fit for O'Brien, how they can make them a better fit. So do take advantage of contacting me. That's the really fun part of the job for me. Love to talk through stories. And another couple things to emphasize, we like revealing problems, but also talking about solutions. And we've sent reporters all over the country, all over the world in search of best practices. We also look for stories that really do need the extra time that O'Brien provides to reporters, the resources, the time, 9 months. So that's a big factor for us too. Can we add something extra to the world? And finally, we are very student-centered, which is a unique feature of the program. So we look for journalists who, regardless of their past training, at least are very eager and excited to work with and mentor a couple reporters, student reporters on their projects. So I'm going to turn it back to Rachel.
Yeah, so another thing, we do prefer stories that take a national approach, even if they're, told mainly from one U.S. state or region. But we look for stories that sort of can broaden from the local story approach to investigate best practices, solutions, in other states or countries. And our fellows have taken on issues like climate change, racial injustice, maternal health, education, neglect of persons with mental illnesses, so a large range of things. And we do want to emphasize that you choose the project. So if you think there's a story out there that is not being told or that you have had an idea for a long time, you can make that your own and do that here.
A question that we get a lot, and you may be wondering about, is are we residential or remote next year? So the fellowship would start in August next year. A lot of uncertainty, of course. Last year we decided to, for the first time, kind of formally accept remote applications, and we did select one fellow who's remote. We have 3 residential right now. But I really still want to emphasize that our strong preference is that fellows relocate to Milwaukee, work out of your private office here in our newsroom, and just use Milwaukee as your home base and travel for reporting as much as you need. And, we've had to adjust. And in the past, we've had a couple partially remote fellows due to different situations. So we're kind of open to discussion on that. Job one is just to knock our socks off with a great proposal. And, if the selection committee gets excited about an idea, a lot of things can happen. So we'll see what happens with COVID as well. But as of right now, we are, again, accepting both residential and remote applications, and maybe things in between, people visiting several days a month, et cetera. But at the end of the day, we still prefer residential.
Great. So I'm just going to walk through a couple more things here. Sorry, I'm just skipping through some of this. Just some general notes about, what we offer here. So we aim to give journalists tools to be able to expose injustice and ignite change. And how we can do that is through the 9-month fellowship. So the O'Brien Fellowship runs for 9 months, and it follows the academic year at Marquette University, just so that journalists can work with students. So it starts in August of 2022 this year, and then next year, and will end in May 2023, following with the school year. Additionally, we do give fellows full funding. It's a $70,000 salary stipend for the entire 9 months or a year, and you get up to $8,000 in research and travel, and you also get money towards housing and moving, depending on your situation. Additionally, like we mentioned, you'll get a group of student reporters, so fellows will guide 2 to 3 Marquette interns that will aid them throughout their project, doing interviews, helping with research, helping gather data, all of that kind of stuff. So those are just a few of the things that we offer for our fellowship.
Some notes this year on eligibility. As always, we look for at least 5 years reporting experience. We've had fellows in their mid to late 20s and all the way on up to mid-career, end of career. So lots of flexibility there. Staff employed journalists, great. Independent journalists, great. We increasingly get a lot of applications from freelancers. Freelancers become Marquette employees, and staff employed fellows remain, employed by their newsroom, but we end up paying that newsroom. A very important note again this year is we have suspended applications from non-U.S. residents. In the past, we've taken international applications. This year, due mainly to COVID, we're taking applications from residents of the U.S. or territories. And as mentioned, residential versus remote is a key consideration, and talk to us about that. Deadlines. Everybody waits till the last day to apply. You don't have to, though. You could actually apply early. You can apply on December 1st and then we can have 7 or 8 weeks to poke through your proposal. January 21 is our deadline, early next year, and we have a pretty rapid response on applications. We do rounds of interviews in February and make decisions on finalists and interview in March and announce very shortly after that. So it's very compact, basically 2-month process where you're able to find out the fate of your application. So a lot of the standard things are included that we want: resume, project proposal, and in the proposal you see very detailed kind of editor type questions about your project and the sources and data and obstacles and so forth. And it's a very nitty gritty application. Can you do this? How can you do this? Personal statement, a biography, work samples, of course. Letters of recommendation can include letters of preliminary interest from a publisher. Independent journalists should at least try to seek a preliminary interest letter, although we realize that getting a final commitment from a publisher more than a year ahead of publication is almost impossible. But so we want to be realistic about that. If you're coming from a newsroom and your staff employed, certainly you would want your top editors to be writing to us, telling us that they're on board with you coming here and they love your project and are ready to publish it when it's done. So that is it for some of the basics. And are we going to turn this into some questions, Rachel?
Yeah. We will move into the Q&A session, or section, I should say. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. 1 second here. All right, great. So I think I'm going to be enabling your mics and cameras, so you can feel free to come on camera if you'd like when you're asking questions, or you can just drop questions in the chat. So again, a reminder of how to do that in case you weren't on the call earlier. You would just either raise your hand using the function at the top or the bottom of the screen that has the little hand symbol, or you can, again, drop them in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and enable camera. So give me 1 second here. Okay, that should have enabled it. If it did not, I apologize. But yes, so we'll do our best to call on people. But yes, have at it.
Bye, Lisa.
Hello. Hi, this is Lisa in Atlanta, Georgia. How are you?
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, I appreciate this information today. Now, I have an online radio station and would like to know if you all would accept ideas regarding like a podcast series along with journalism as well, like in written form, but it's also as podcasts. So thank you.
Sure. Let me tackle that. That's a good question. We didn't get into that. We are pretty print heavy traditionally, but we also have had radio reporters and we had a documentary filmmaker. And those are very popular with students. Radio's red hot again, and podcasts. So yeah, we can definitely talk about that. There's some unique challenges with film and radio in terms of kind of getting the students credit or in the thick of the action, but there's workarounds for that. So I would definitely encourage you to continue talking with us, Lisa, for sure.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I believe Lauren had her hand up first, and then we'll go to Audrey. So Lauren, go ahead.
Hi there. Yeah, so my name is Lauren. I'm currently a staff reporter at the Charlotte Observer, but I am a grant-funded position. And we're still figuring out what that looks like when the grant ends. And so I am kind of in two minds of the staff versus independent route. And I'm wondering if you can share any kind of thoughts about how that might change the project proposal, both in like confidence that it would get published somewhere, but also just is there a general weight or emphasis given to staff jobs like you would a residential versus remote? Like, is there a heavier consideration for those who are attached to a newsroom?
These are great questions. It's almost like we have reporters on the line or something. Perfect. So we do like the certainty of people coming from staff positions because we know, it's just more predictable in terms of where it will publish and when and who will edit it. Whereas freelancers, are pitching and there's uncertainty with that. But, we've made the transition to taking a lot of freelancers and we're getting a lot better at that. We help place. It definitely, the certainty factor can help you for sure. But I don't think it's nearly the advantage like that it used to be, especially if you've already talked to some potential publishers, or maybe, if you were to leave a staff position, theoretically, not talking about your situation, but, maybe the former employer publishes it or is interested. So I don't know if that gets at exactly what you were asking, Lauren.
No, it does. That's helpful. I appreciate it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Great. We'll go to Audrey next.
Hi, I actually have two questions. One is, if we are going to be pitching this story, do we need to be pitching it to an American publisher? And then the other question was just about the what counts as 5 years experience, because most of my work is freelance through grad school. So I have stuff published with Solutions Journalism Network, and I have stuff published with local magazines and the Wichita Eagle, but I'm not a staff reporter for any of them.
Audrey, for some reason, I could only hear your second question, so I'm going to answer that first. I had a connection issue there.
Okay.
The 5 years is, we don't have any hard and fast rules on that. There's different ways to count to that 5, and it doesn't have to all be staff. There are even some journalism adjacent type experiences that we would certainly look fondly upon, teaching, things of that nature. So it's not disqualifying at all if you don't have the exact 5.
Okay. Well, I think that too, but it depends on what you count.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk through it.
Okay, perfect. And then also, I just wanted to know, because most of my work is in West Africa right now. I'm actually getting ready to go on a trip over there. So I wanted to know, if I'm pitching this story, does it need to be being pitched to an American newsroom?
Yes. We want to emphasize the American partner, even if it's an international story.
Sure. That's no problem. Okay, thank you.
You bet.
And then we will go to, I believe, I'm sorry if I don't pronounce this right, Silas?
Yes.
Okay. Hi.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for putting on this wonderful presentation. I'm going to apologize in advance for my background because I'm working from home, and I thought I'd be able to do a virtual background, so forgive all the background noise. So if I were being accepted, I would be applying as an independent journalist via my own. I have a communications company, Kelson Communications, and I have a podcast that's got a pretty good following. I got a lot of interesting topics. I'm pretty well connected. I'm also a social worker, so I'm connected with a lot of social work colleagues and administrators all the way from Albany, New York, down to Washington, D.C. So if I would have, and I got, like a ton of, ideas swimming in my head, all current issues. So if I were to pitch one as an independent journalist with his own communications company, what other additional assurances might I need to say, okay, once your work, if you get accepted, who's going to, display your work?
Thanks, Silas. Yeah, this is a chance for me to talk about, we do seek, to have the most reach we can with O'Brien projects. So oftentimes, if you're working for a local publication, something that may have, great roots in the community, but isn't heard by millions of people or tens of thousands of people, oftentimes in those situations, we'll encourage you to seek a partner, a regional or national partner.
Okay.
And we've had great success at that. The Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, which is right in town here and co-founded the fellowship, is now part of the Gannett USA Today network. And oftentimes, they've got properties all over the country. Sometimes they'll grab onto a piece of this and work with a fellow and broaden the reach of it that way. Perhaps on the podcasting side, you could partner with, Reveal or somebody else. Open to all different kinds of partnerships across platforms. But we definitely do prefer projects that have really good reach to audience. We're really trying to make an impact. Does that help at all?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
So then just to follow up question. So, would I be kind of like, required to, to show that, that I would be able to disseminate my project over a wide base of connections and audience reach? Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I think that, and you don't have to have it locked down, but what we love to see is, some pre-reporting on this, not only the story, but, maybe you've approached another media outlet and at least had preliminary talks with them, and something that would allow us to then investigate a little further and see what the possibilities are. So, you're never going to have it all signed, sealed, and delivered, but are you open to that? Let us know. And then, are there some possibilities? When we hear from independent journalists, they'll often say, I've done, stories for these outlets and I have great relationships with this editor at this outlet, that sort of thing that we really like to see.
Okay. All right. Absolutely. Thank you.
Sure. Are there questions in the chat that we wanted to get to as well?
I'm not sure. Fu, are there any questions in there?
Not really.
Okay.
So yeah.
We'll just keep going down the line of hands here. So Laura, I believe you are next.
Yeah, hi, Dave, this is Laura Grenius. I'm an editor with Gannett in Florida, and you brought up the term editing a couple of times, and that is my question. If one of our reporters is interested in this fellowship, what is the editing process and who's involved?
I mean, you are, first and foremost, we really strongly encourage fellows to continue their normal process of working with their editor. We don't have editorial control at Marquette over what you're doing. I mean, I have been a journalist for 35 years and I have worked on many investigations. So I'm sort of a guide. I'm that person they can bring up questions to or vent to, even on occasion, reporters do vent. But it's best when the editors back home, so to speak, are deeply involved. That doesn't always happen. There's a little bit of out of sight, out of mind happening, but the smart editors will really stay in touch. And so really it shouldn't look much different to you than it normally does.
And what about data support? Like, how does this differ from, say, the USC Data Fellowship or either of their two fellowships?
So we have ample resources for almost anything a fellow can do. Like whatever they need, we will make happen. Training, equipment, research, FOIA, fees, travel. We've hired producers with their money. We've hired data experts, academics, etc. So it's almost open-ended. Like we rarely will have to say to somebody, we just can't do that. So, we're helping guide the students, helping the fellows do that, and providing whatever resources they need. Does that help at all, Laura?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. And I'm going to tag on one more from an editor's perspective. As you said, all sorts of support. Does that go to preparing awards nominations? Are you involved in that process?
Thankfully, no. That's the first time I've ever been asked that, but it is a good question. As the industry has shrunk, I know there's a lot less time to do that, and it is incredibly time consuming. I would happily participate despite what I just said, but that is the first time I've been asked that.
Thanks.
And it's a very optimistic question.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time for this today.
You bet. Thank you. Happy to talk some more.
Thank you, Laura. Lauren, I see your hands raised again, and I think you're next in line.
Yeah, hi, I'm back. So I was very excited to hear you say that there's opportunity to kind of work through the application and finesse it in a way that you might be more successful. I'm wondering if that should happen. Should we be reaching out before we hit send on those applications? Or is that something when it's accepted that then that conversation starts?
Oh, thanks for letting me clarify that. Right now, yeah, before you hit send, I mean, I have traded proposals with people multiple times before they apply. There's a little bit of time after you apply to do that, but not much. And of course, by then we've got a lot of applications to go through. So the earlier you contact me, like December, my teaching duties, wind down, and I've got a solid month there to work with reporters and editors on stories. So go for it.
That sounds great. I will also be home in Wisconsin in December, so I can.
Oh, good. Well, bring your snowshoes again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. I think we have Kaylee next.
Hi. I have a couple questions, so I will try to keep them brief. I had so my kind of context is I work for a local newspaper in California, and so I'm envisioning, being able to pitch something to my editor that has relevance to our kind of area. I think a statewide focus would be doable, perhaps a regional focus. But anyway, I just wanted to get a sense for, if that's like broad enough, is that, something that I guess plays a factor in deciding, which potential ideas to take on. I'm trying to get a sense for how important it is that the size of the scope there.
Sure. So candidly, our selection committee has, rejected, for lack of a better phrase, things they see as too local.
Mm-hmm.
But we've had projects that were statewide, but also kind of took on some national ambition.
Yeah.
For instance, somebody has been investigating problems in local jails in Virginia. Come to the fellowship, still do some of those stories for the paper back home, but use 3 students to, for the first time ever, compile a list of people with mental illness who've died in local American jails, and 50 states, 9 months of solid research led by the students. So your editor hopefully would have some of that ambition to want to break some ground. That really helps. And some of that can be nuanced where maybe you are producing some great local stories, but also the national piece, right?
Yeah, no, that definitely helps. I think I've been trying to get a sense for, as a reporter who has, deadlines every day, every week, like, what am I asking my editor to support exactly
Right.
in terms of,
Right.
sparing me as a resource for his newsroom. And then I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the work with the students. Like, I have never, worked with a team, had a team of people to help me with the story
Right.
in my whole life, or maybe not since college at least. So what sort of, I guess, I wonder if you can talk a little bit about,
Sure.
what sorts of things we should envision when we're thinking of an idea to try to, what's a rich opportunity for those students, and how do we, craft a pitch in a way that makes it a good opportunity for them as well.
Thanks for asking that. That's a great question. A lot of time is spent working with the students. Like, this is not a situation where they're helping you around the edges. It's not a class. It's an internship for them for credit. And you would meet with them on a weekly basis, kind of like you're running a news bureau. They're doing research, background, accompanying you on interviews, maybe helping clean up data. And you're mentoring them, I'm mentoring them. And, it's a work in progress, right? You get them to a point where you see how much they can help you. And sometimes they get byline credit or ender credits. Maybe they make a video. They can do a lot. It's kind of a combination of having a research associate and a reporter helping you, a reporter in training. So seriously, if I always tell candidates, like, if you have great hesitancy about working with young people, this really isn't the place for you, because there's a lot of it. Like, you really work with them a lot. I mean, most fellows come away loving that part of it. Like, those are the moments you remember. You'll always have journalism, right? But kind of molding a team and seeing them develop, is kind of what sticks with you. So it's a lot, but you get a lot. And, it helps to have you mentored, in your application, you may mention, have you mentored students? Have you worked with interns at your media outlet? Have you done any teaching, any childcare, any related fields like that, counseling, any managerial roles that you've had, editing, any supervising, so that you've had some personnel management? Again, I'm deeply involved with the students, so you're not anywhere near on your own. But Rachel, from your perspective, what does being a student working with a fellow look like, and like how do you get assignments, and how does it all work?
Yeah, I'm totally good to chime in on this. I've done it now. This is my second year. So I guess what it really looks like is just finding areas that your students really want to learn more in. So getting a sense of that right at the beginning is a great way to do that. And just finding those opportunities for them to kind of get their feet wet and, giving them some trust with those things. So for example, some of the stuff that I did a week or so ago, went out to a school with my other student reporting intern, and we interviewed a bunch of teachers and parents and students. So it was a good opportunity for us to really get our feet wet and just be out in the field and do that work. And Catherine, my fellow, is actually remote, so she wasn't going with us, but we went and did it, and it was super successful. So just finding things like that, especially if you are partially remote or whatever it is, or even just you're trying to broaden the reach in a day to go somewhere. It's a really helpful thing for students to be able to do that kind of stuff. So.
Follow-up thoughts on that?
No, that all sounds great. I really appreciate the info. Can I ask just one more thing? I'm trying to get a sense, just to be blunt, am I asking my editor to not have me really do much daily during the time that if I'm doing this, I'm not really going to be available for much else, or are people able to do other work for their newsrooms?
The short answer is no, they are not. We treat this as a full-time 100% commitment. 70,000 for 9 months is a lot of money. And in Milwaukee, that's the equivalent of $20 million. We've done the calculations on that. The cost of living is very low here. And, we're realistic. Freelancers, you're going to need to stay in touch with some of your clients. You may do, some work. You may have to do some other work. But in staff reporters, we discourage it, but occasionally, if you were the police reporter and, God forbid, there's a police shooting back home and it's the biggest story in 10 years, will you get called up and asked to help? Yeah. But really, this is not about doing this around the edges at all. We want people who can make it their full-time day job. And the editors, I think from their standpoint, what they're getting, that's why I say editors kind of have to have some ambition, because willing to give somebody up for 9 months, in exchange, we're taking you off the payroll back home. They're getting a world-class project. You're getting advanced training. So you're going to come back with broader skills and sort of a bargain. But no, yeah, this whole getting called back to do stories thing is no. Yep.
Cool. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the answers.
Sure.
Great, thanks. We will move on to Nadia and then Sylvia. So Nadia first. Nadia, are you there?
I'm just turning on the camera and the microphone. Hello, it's night here in Bangladesh. I'm from Bangladesh, so I have to say good night, but I think it's good morning for you. So, hi everyone. I'm Nadia Sherman from Ekato TV. It's a 24-hour news channel in Bangladesh, and I'm working in Bangladesh in TV media for about 13 years. I'm a senior reporter here, and I was interested about this fellowship because I think it would enhance my capability. So I joined this program or this meeting to know about this program more. But as I questioned in your texting messages, and that as you don't accept, as you won't be accepting the non-US residents, so this year I might miss. That's so unfortunate. But I really would like to know what are the requirements you're looking for. That is an overall question. But what are you not looking for? What are the requirements? What are the elements you are not looking in this application that we give or that we submit?
Sure. So we have I think a 10 or 12 question section that really gets into the guts of what is your story? Why is it important? How would you go about doing this? Is it mainly data heavy? Is it sources? What are the challenges? How long would it take? We get a fair number of proposals from people who have a great idea, but it seems like you could do it in 3 months or 3 years sometimes. And so really reporting type questions. So it helps to either have some knowledge of your topic from past reporting or to do some reporting before you apply so that you can have a good idea about how you're going to go about doing this. It's it may not be easy to do. Not everybody has time to do that kind of pre-reporting, but it really helps to come to the fellowship having a head start on your project. Now you can get that, if you're accepted as a fellow in March, you've got 6 months before you come here. So that gives people a head start as well. But, and we also ask, where it might be published, and also the formats. Are you mainly proposing multimedia? Is it a podcast? Is it print stories, photography, a documentary film? And increasingly, we're seeing people proposing a combination of those things. So there's a lot to chew on in the application, and kind of forces you to think a lot. But we like to know the guts of how you're actually going to do it. Does that make sense at all, Nadia?
Yes, of course, but I'd really like to know what make you think that this application is not good enough, or we are not looking for this applicant. What are the basic things that
Sure.
make it?
Well, we're public service journalism, and I know that's kind of a mushy phrase, but we're looking for ways to hold institutions accountable and tackle serious problems. So, we're less interested in sort of lifestyle stories, things of that nature, arts and entertainment features, and more looking towards bread and butter news topics, things that are timely, things that have been problems for a long time that nobody seems to have come up with a way to fix, and can we look for new ways to attack them? So we really want to contribute to like the political dialogue around a problem. Is there legislation that could be proposed? Has this been taken to the people to find out what could be done? Have neighborhoods and people at the grassroots been consulted? So that's the kind of reporting we like. And we also like to have public events around the fellowships and the reporting. Increasingly, fellows are doing online events and bringing together real people and experts to push the story forward. So, we're looking also for those kind of ideas where you're not only a reporter, but maybe the students are helping you plan public events and push the story out, where they're helping you market the story as well. I'm talking an awful lot. I'm gonna be quiet now, Nadia. I hope that helps.
No, not at all. You helped a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You give a brief.
Thanks for coming on to the call.
All right, we'll move to Sylvia and then Christopher.
Hey everyone, my name is Sylvia A. Harvey, and I'm a freelance journalist based here in New York City, and I report at the intersection of race, class, policy, but mostly on mass incarceration. And this is a fascinating sort of opportunity for me. And one of the things that I'm thinking about is whether or not I have the capacity to be there. And I read, and forgive me if you've already covered this, because I sort of just jumped onto the call late because I had another meeting, but I'm really interested in how much weight you put on people physically being there the entire time, and whether or not it's acceptable to perhaps come for a month trip and kind of work with the students, and then, do a couple of months from your home base. Like, sort of what is the balance that you guys are looking for in terms of people that want to participate and want to engage with the students and want to go out and do this on the ground reporting and stuff like that, but can't relocate for the 9 months?
So we've gotten more flexible on this, mainly because of COVID. I think I said before you got on that, the best way to kind of open up a discussion is to have a great project proposal that the selection committee likes so much that they're willing to negotiate on how much time you can be in Milwaukee. I've seen it happen. It does happen. we've had people, I mean, most people are here, period. They move here. We had a fellow, for instance, from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which is 5 hours from Milwaukee, who drove here once a month, stayed overnight on campus for 4 nights, and met with her students. And the rest of the time she was on Skype with the right fellow and the right group of students. It can work. We have a completely remote fellow, Catherine Lewis.
Oh, I know Catherine.
Yeah.
She actually referred
Oh, do
me
you?
to this program. Yeah.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Yeah.
She's got great things to say about it. So she sent an
Yeah.
email. Make sure you guys apply to this. It's fantastic. So
Perfect. We'll have to shoot her a couple extra $100 for that. Yeah, so it's, I'm not going to lie, a lot of preference is put on residential. But, I don't pick the fellows, the selection committee does, and they have been known to fall in love with the project and just want to make something happen. So we should talk about it.
All right. Thanks so much.
Good.
Great. Christopher, do you want to go ahead?
Hey, thanks for this opportunity and for taking the question. I guess 2 quick things. One is the 3 letters of recommendation, are those due at the time of application, or can they come in within like a window? I know some other fellowships allow for that. And I think the second question is, what capacity is there for a project to take? I know folks have been talking about podcasts. I combine data analysis, computer programming, and data visualization and tell visual stories and that sort of thing. And what capacity is there for collaborating with the students to take something that's a little bit more of a visual sort of form or exploratory by an audience as opposed to like straight narrative text?
Sure. On the recommendation letters, there is a window after January 21st where we're going through applications for a month and exploring, where people have definitely had 2, 3, 4 weeks to get those in. I know they're hard to get together, so there's flexibility on that. You're talking about data visualization. Yeah, we're trying to do more of that. We have professors in-house now who specialize in that. I mean, it depends on, it would probably have to be in conjunction with, Christopher, in conjunction with some, more traditional, if you will, elements. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. Yep, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, we're up for that.
All right, great. Mohammed?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
My name is Mohammed Lafoueres. I am a journalist from Morocco. I have the pleasure to be with you today, and I'm looking forward to taking part in the fellowship in the near future. My question is, you know that the restrictions that followed the pandemic, the corona pandemic in Morocco, are still looming over us. And I think that to be present in the fellowship in the United States is not available for me, as long as I am a journalist in a public media outlet. What about online fellowship? Can be done?
Right. The question is online fellowship.
Yes.
Right. We haven't gone fully in that direction yet. Who knows what's going to happen with COVID over the next year. But at this time, we're not open to that kind of remote online international fellowship. Sorry to say.
Okay. Is that all, Mohammed? Just want to check.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Audrey, I see you have your hand raised again.
Yeah, my phone is blowing up. I'm gonna have to go, but I wanted to set up an appointment with one of you before I leave the country so I can maybe get better information while I'm overseas. Or so I come back and pitch this. Who should I be contacting and what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Sure. Just email me directly, Audrey, and the same goes for everybody on the call here. David.umhafer, conventional spelling. UMHOEFER at marquette.edu.
Okay. You got it. Okay, thank you. I just didn't want to get off the call before I had the information.
Got it. Thank you very much.
I have to go, but thank you so much for making time today.
Thanks for coming on.
All right, bye.
Other questions?
I see Dan has a question. We can move to that.
I think you're muted, Dan.
There we go. Thank you. Hey there.
There we go.
My name's Dan Weissman. I'm a public radio reporter. I make a podcast about the cost of healthcare called An Arm and a Leg. We partner with Kaiser Health News and outlets like Planet Money's The Indicator run our stories, and NPR runs our stories. And I heard about this fellowship. It seems really appealing. I've got a super fun idea. I mean, to be honest, would not be able to shut down the podcast for a year doing this, but I have brought on collaborators. I would be continuing to host the podcast while doing it. I hope that would be okay. I hope that wouldn't kind of rule us out entirely. And I know, folks like Catherine Lewis, who told me about the fellowship, also has other projects cooking at the same time. And I think this would be a kind of analogous situation. I hope that would be not beyond the bounds of what you would consider.
The devil would be in the details, I think. It would just depend on how much of a commitment the other project is, how much you would be able to integrate the two together. It poses some challenges, Dan, but we should talk. Yeah,
great.
Because we really do want people focused. As I said, that their day job is the O'Brien Fellowship. And
great. Well, thank you. And the story that I would want to do with you would be a blockbuster for our show, right? That we would then bring to our partners that we would have a lot of time to bring to our partners at Kaiser Health News and NPR and Kaiser Health, the other partners that KHN works with.
Yeah, those are great partners. Yeah, I mean, that helps, right? Yep. So, let's talk some more.
That sounds great. Looking forward to it.
I'm not seeing any other questions. Is there anyone else who had any other questions? I just want to make sure that we get to everyone. I'm guessing not.
Well, thank you very much. These have been great questions. Happy to answer them and happy to chat some more. Again, December 1st, we start taking applications, and talk to us before you apply, and we'll iron out what we can and help you focus an idea that has a real chance of success.
Great. And just so everyone knows, we did record this session. So if you have any questions or want to, we'll have it up on the website, and we'll try to also just send it out to our attendee list for you as well. So.
And if you object to the use of the recording, let us know, and we can do something about that.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Have a great day out there.
Thanks, you too.
Take care. Stay in touch.
Thank you all.
Will do.
Bye.
So much. Bye-bye. Thank you.